Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. So I'm here in New York City. I just finished shooting my first commercial, which was super freaking cool. And I want to talk about how I feel like I really manifested what I talked about a couple of years ago, where I talked about changing my personality and going from truly being an introvert to being an extrovert. And I want to talk about the ways my healing journey has really helped me. So I think the three biggest ways it's helped me is one, having more intention about the people that I spend time with. When we think about introvertism versus extrovertism, I don't know if these are the right words. When we think about these terms, we talk about like how we recharge our energy. And my understanding is that it's actually the people we spend time with. So certain types of people, I think we've all experienced, when we're around them, the process kind of sucks our energy dry. And other people we're around them and we feel lighter and we feel more joyful and more excited after having spent time with them. The second way healing has really helped is in terms of being present in my body. So I used to have a lot of fear in my body because of childhood trauma. We all know that story. So I felt safer when I was alone inside by myself than I was when I was surrounded by people, because there were all these unknown elements. I didn't know what would happen. So much of my energy was being spent trying to keep myself safe. And the third one has been gaining awareness of my coping mechanisms and the ways I was avoiding healing really and being with my feelings and really processing the things I'd been through. And that showed up in being introverted. It showed up in things like binging Netflix every weekend. It showed up in things like getting high all the time. These were all things that I did to not deal with trauma and to not deal with my feelings. And there was a correlation between smoking before going out to a party, watching 8 seasons of a TV show. There was a direct relationship between those behaviors and being introverted. So those are things that I want to get into. Before we dive even further, I want to thank my Patreon people. I really appreciate y'all. If you want to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/Chimzi. Thank you very much. And give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see more. So let's get back to that first one, which is all about changing the kinds of people I spent time with. I think when we aren't healed or we aren't even aware that we have any challenges, there's a level of lack of self-worth we have. And as a result, we don't really have high standards when it comes to who we spend our time with. Because often a lot of the uncomfortable, painful experiences came when we were young, came in our sort of family dynamics and our community dynamics. And they came in places where we didn't really have a choice whether or not we could be there. Because obviously if we could not be there, we would leave, right? So the fact that we had to stay in situations that didn't serve us and really hurt us meant that we learned like, okay, this is what I should expect. And this is what love looks like, are these kinds of dynamics. And as a result, when we get older, we're surrounded by partners, with friends, with coworkers, with people in our community who mirror that exact kind of love that we think we deserve. And so understandably, it's not fun to be around those kinds of people, right? So we call ourselves introverts. And to be clear, y'all, I'm not a doctor or a scientist. So this is truly my 2 cents on how I think this works, all right? So take it all with a grain of salt, take what resonates, leave the rest. But I think we call ourselves introverts because the people that we expect and who we think are normal to be around are actually these vampires who are soul sucking our energy, and we don't understand that we have a choice about whether or not we hang out with them. And I think when you heal and you grow your self-worth, you realize exactly that you don't have to do things you don't want to do. You don't have to be around people you don't like. You don't have to do activities that don't fill you up. Like, no one's making you do anything. And when we're younger, we have so little choice physically. Our only choices are energetic and emotional. All we can control is, do we withdraw our energy? Do we disassociate? But we often don't get to control our physicality, and so we carry that with us. But of course, now we are adults. We can shift and change and grow and evolve and move and say, actually, I don't want to do this thing with you. I don't want to go out. I don't want to be your friend. And they're challenging and they're hard if we haven't done them before, because it invites us to be someone we haven't been and see and show ourselves that when we step into this new role, we're going to be okay. And not just be okay, we're going to be really, really happy and prosper and thrive. But we don't know that yet because we haven't experienced it. So I think when you shift who it is that you're spending time with, if your friends or the people in your life are joyful and fun and supportive and edifying and enthusiastic, and when you spend time with them, you feel good, you feel fed, you feel like you are giving them love and they're giving it right back. It's not a one-way relationship. It's going to be natural to want to spend time with those people. And I think being an extrovert doesn't mean that you can only spend time with people and you're never by yourself and you're never happy by yourself. I think the ideal situation is that you just have joy in your body, you have peace and safety in your body. So whether you are by yourself or with other people, that same level of joy and safety emanates from you. But I think if we haven't experienced how good it can feel with other people, how supportive supportive and lovely and beautiful it can feel with other people, where there's that balance and there's that mutuality, we'll think that to be around other people is to be drained, is to be made small, is to feel out of place, is to feel uncomfortable, when I genuinely don't believe that's the case. Next, let's talk about healing as it comes to safety in your body. I made a video about like how I started my healing journey if you're more curious about that, because I think I'm talking more about the impact of healing versus like the process of healing and what it looks like to like cry all the time and do all the weeping and feel the emotions, let them come up. Oh, it got super dark in here. Either way, I don't wanna wake up from you. All right, I think the light will obviously change again, and when it does, I will monitor this situation. When we talk about being safe and feeling safe in our own body and how that translates into interactions, I had this really interesting experience where I got to meet some other creative people, and I could tell I had changed because of the way I reacted to them. They were cool, capital C and capital O and a capital L. Cool. They look cool. They look like they were out of like an editorial. They were wearing sunglasses inside. All of their shoes were designer. All of these outward signs, right, of being very, very cool people. They also had cool jobs and did cool things in the industry and knew cool people, right? So the definition of cool. And a younger version of me would have been very intimidated by these people because I would have been like, I'm not cool like them. They don't care about what I have to say. I don't have anything worth saying to them. Nothing I say will be interesting or funny compared to all the interesting and funny people that they probably know. And as a result, I would have stayed very quiet, would have stayed to myself, would have stayed shy. And what I noticed when I was engaging with them as a result of my own experience is that there are a lot of times when fear is the reason we're standoffish. And I think if you don't realize that, when you see people being standoffish, you think that's them judging you and saying something about you and not seeing your value and not wanting to be your friend, which then makes you angry and resentful and only makes you want to further not engage. But when you're able to see fear behind a lot of the ways people engage, for me, it brings up this feeling of compassion. And it brings up this feeling of, I know what it was like to be scared, to talk to people, to engage with people. I know what it was like to be scared that no one wanted to be my friend and wanted to hang out with me. And so what can I do as someone who knows what it's like to be in that position? What can I do to alleviate that fear? It is so dark, y'all. Like this is really, I'm really struggling with how dark it is. Let me see if I can do one more thing around this lighting. All right, that's a little bit brighter. I know what it's like to be at parties and feeling kind of awkward. And the most like, sigh of relief comes when someone comes up and says hi and is friendly and is interested in me and we get to have an easy conversation. And so understanding that that's actually a form of love, going up to people, expressing genuine interest, taking that fear from them and showing them like, no, it's okay. You may not know me, but I am a safe person. I really care about you as a human being. I care about myself as a human being. So I'm not gonna put us in situations that jeopardize our safety or our well-being because I care and love myself. That is such a gift to give to another person. Shifting away from feeling that people are threats. I think when you have a lot of fear in your body, when you've been through a lot, you don't know if you can trust people because you've been hurt. And so the protective mechanism is to say, let me just kind of keep away and keep a distance. But when you realize that people are not threats, that actually you can trust that you are safe in your own body, then your heart opens and you're able to actually connect with them. On that same note about sort of being present in your body, I also feel like it allows deeper conversations that themselves are more edifying. Because when you are so focused on self-protection, on keeping yourself safe from not being hurt from the stranger who could attack you, you only have so much energy to actually spend on like, oh, that's an interesting hairstyle you have or interesting shirt you have, or like, oh, you said this certain thing in the story that could lead to a whole thread and I could learn more about you. The energy that can go towards curiosity and actually engaging with that person is so much more reduced when your energy is spent on keeping yourself safe. So when you're present in your body, you're actually able to listen to what the person is saying, and that way you're not relying on the same tired topics that you've already talked about, that person has already talked about, that there's really nothing new to say. I've found that sometimes I end up in conversations where I might be talking to a new person, but the conversation isn't new. We're both just repeating and recycling thoughts and opinions we've already had and already said before. So we're literally like in a play, basically, where it's like, this is my line, this is your line, and I find those kinds of conversations to be draining because nothing new new, nothing alive, nothing fresh is really entering the dynamic. And that's when you want to talk to somebody, is when they're asking questions and when you're saying things that you've never thought or heard before. And it's exciting because you don't know where the conversation is going to lead. If you're scared and you don't feel safe, it feels good to know where we're going. It feels good to know where this is going to end up. And it does feel safe, you know, because that's what we want. That's the ultimate priority. Now, we're already safe, then our priorities shift. Then our priorities are about creativity and excitement and newness and connection. And then we have different things pulling us. Our intention is different. And that shows up in how we engage in conversation, and it shows up in the depth of those conversations. And the final thing I want to reflect on is these coping mechanisms that I didn't realize were not about being introverted, but were actually about not feeling my feelings. So I made a video about how I stopped smoking weed. In it, I talk a lot about the job that I had really stressed me out, you know? And back then, I didn't understand that the stress is here and then external things mirror it. I thought it was the job. I was like, I'm gonna blame this job for why I'm stressed. It was not the job. I was not wanting to feel my stuff, so I blamed the job. And then I said, well, let me smoke to not feel my stuff that this job is making me have. When in reality, it was stuff related to healing that I wasn't able to address. And so in the process of addressing these things, releasing a lot of these fears, I found that I no longer wanted to spend time mindlessly numbing myself with substances, with TV shows, with experiences that didn't actually call on me to be present. I don't feel as unsafe as I used to. So shows, movies, stories that act out being under threat and fighting threats, they don't resonate because that's just not how I feel anymore. Like, I still haven't seen Wakanda Forever. I feel the same way about the Woman King. I think it's just like black people macheting other black people. That's not for me. There really has been this shift away from the universe and God being this like not dependable, I can pray about something, but I don't know if I'm really gonna get it, so I need to take care of myself. That's shifted away, and now more and more my life is like having this intimacy with God and feeling really like taken care of and loved and comforted and like all these great opportunities and experiences, and I'm just like feeling really blessed. So if I find myself watching things, which I totally do, it'll be about someone usually making something really cool that really excites me, like watching people bake or blow glass or decorate their home or do something that's like infused with love and creativity. And often it's really inspiring and it makes me want to go do something. So instead of wanting to just keep watching them and sort of numb, I'm like, ooh, I have energy now because of all the healing. So I'm like, let me learn how to sew. Let me learn how to crochet. I want to get involved in doing all these things. Like, I watch YouTube videos. There's this great YouTuber on here. Her name is Reba. I was watching her videos and literally like the way she does her editing, I was like, let me go edit something. Like, it made me want to get involved with it again. And I know in the past, I would see some creators who had really incredible content and it would make me feel bad because I had all these belief systems about my self-worth. And as I've healed that, when I see other people being great, it's just a reminder that I can be great too. And I want to get out in the world and create more stuff and get all this B-roll and live my best life because it's joyful and it's fun. My thesis statement is that we are all extroverts. We are all supposed to be happy and excited and connected and full of energy and giving and exchanging energy. And when you are ready, you will sort of take responsibility for your role in creating a life and creating a community of people who love and support you, because that is what you deserve. And I want that for you. Let me know if this video resonated. Let me know in the comments. Do you consider yourself an introvert? Do you consider yourself an extrovert? And do you find that how much you want to spend time with people shifts depending on who those people are? And let me know, do you feel safe in your body? Do you feel that no matter where you go, you are taking home with you?
Okay. Superstar.
This is where I belong, under the lights.